In the spring of 1986, Keith Haring was asked by the Checkpoint Charlie Museum, to create a mural on the Berlin Wall. The mural was 300 meters long and depicted red and black interlocking human figures against a yellow background. The colors were a representation of the German flag and symbolized the hope and the unity of East and West Germany. In April of 1986, in New York City, he opened up the Pop Shop in Soho, and it basically made Keith Haring's work readily available to purchase at reasonable prices. It was like T-shirts and kind of merchandise basically about with Keith Haring's work. If you've ever seen, I think it's still there. I think it's still there. And if you haven't seen it, you should look it up. I mean, it's like an entire room, literally like floor to ceiling, covered in like that Keith Haring style of art, and it's a beautiful just place to be in. It's like an art piece in itself, as well as actually you can buy just like kind of what he was doing when he was like hitchhiking across the country. He was just selling T-shirts and his own work on the road, and now it's in this like really hip Soho, New York shop, selling the same kind of merch. Um, and this is kind of he was obviously very criticized for this, because he was talking about consumerism, right, and like anti-consumerism, but yet he has a store that he's selling his work as merchandise. So it's like, buy a coffee mug, buy a T-shirt. So I don't fault him. I just think it's very interesting that like it's he came from the streets and was like talking about stuff that was going on in the world of consumption and capitalism, and then so anyway, shirts and posters and other items that were sold here, he has said, I can earn more money if I just painted a few things and jacked up the price, which he didn't want to do. His answer was his shop was an extension of what he was doing in the subways and the streets, which is breaking down the barriers of high and low art. So basically, you could buy his art at a low price, thus kind of not making it like he was one of these like high on a pedestal art kind of hard to get artist. He was just available. You can just go buy a shirt with Keith Haring's shirt. Keith Haring was openly gay and used his work obviously to talk about safe sex and have this part of the conversation. In '88, he was diagnosed with AIDS. From 82 to '89, he was featured in more than 100 solo and group exhibitions and produced more than 50 public works, especially dozens of charities, hospitals, daycare centers, and orphanages. He used his imagery during the last years of his life to speak about his illness and to generate activism and awareness of AIDS. Kind of why I think he came to our school. In '89, he was invited by the Lesbian and Gay Community Service Center to join a show of site-specific artwork for the building at 208 West 13th Street. Around the same time, he did a mural at my college, and weirdly, I don't think I really understood the impact of his work until I A, saw it in person, him doing it in person, and then B, was able to physically walk up to it, like really close to it, and study it and really examine like just the amount of just artistry on every level of what he was doing and what he was putting out there. He was I think he had a very huge impact on a lot of future artists, including me. He died in 1990 at the age of 31.